Coming up, how farmers are dealing with their recent wild stretch of weather.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Many folks across the Commonwealth felt the effects of the winter storms last week, but one group that prepares for those frigid temperatures year-round is livestock farmers. WYMT's Madison Carmouche spoke to Perry County Extension agents about what livestock farmers should do before a cold snap.
Livestock farmers face a different challenge when it comes to freezing temperatures, keeping their animals alive, fed, and warm. Extension Services agent Charles May says there is no quick and easy solution.
These farmers are used to this. It's just part of it. When you're farming, you're going to have to deal with it. You hope you don't, but you're prepared. Most of them got a game plan and in place. And the worst thing, if it stays this cold for long periods of time, that's really when it gets serious.
May says that one way to keep cattle warm is to protect them from mud, because when they get mud on their coat, it impacts their insulation.
That comes aftermath of snow. You get mud, and here in eastern Kentucky, usually during the winter, there's a lot of mud, and it's kind of hard to avoid that. But you know, if you can move them, and they can take the cold a lot better if they don't have mud on their coats.
Extremely cold temperatures also increase the amount of food and water the cattle need.
Water is really critical for animals, especially to get them through the cold. They're eating more, so naturally they need water to help with the digestion and things. And when water freezes or you don't have it, that's a real problem.
He says that during the recent cold snap, no farmers reported any losses in livestock. In Hazard, Madison Carmouche, WYMT Mountain News.
May suggests that farmers use plastic troughs for their animals' water to decrease the chances of it freezing.
Well, no freezing weather across the mountains tonight, but we are watching out for some wet weather in some areas. Let's take a live look at First Alert Pinpoint Doppler. The heavier showers in the Big Sandy Valley at this hour, zooming into portions of Pike County, into Floyd County, also Johnson, Martin, and Lawrence counties as well, and some more light showers into West Virginia at this hour. And same story for Southwest Virginia from Lee, Wise, Dickinson, and Buchanan counties. A few light showers in this location as well. And the good news, nothing too heavy tonight, but a few more light sprinkles close to Owsley County into Lee County, also Rockcastle and Jackson counties at this hour. Some of us getting a little bit of a break right now, but notice as we zoom out, some more moisture over the Gulf Coast. That will continue pushing off to the north and east as we go into late tonight, also early on Thursday. So more rain chances are on the way. Those temperatures are well above average. Most of us in the 50s and 60s at this hour, up to 61 for Harlan, 60 for London, and 57 over in Pikeville at this hour. And most of us stay in the middle to lower 50s as you wake up on Thursday. More 60s on the way tomorrow. Also more rain chances on the way. Your full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Well, it appears several rounds of rain will continue to impact the area. This combined with snowmelt could create some high water concerns. Now, if you are concerned about your home, there could be a few things you could do, including clearing your gutters. If water does get into your home, it's important to understand what could be in that water. Any surfaces affected by high water should be cleaned with soap and water and also a bleach solution. Some parents are frustrated after their children learned from home for another day today. It marked a fifth day for non-traditional instruction, also known as NTI, in Pulaski County. Transportation leaders there say a check of the roads late last night determined too many out in the county still were not safe for buses. Students there are back in the classroom tomorrow, but at least 7 other districts will have another NTI day on Thursday. To find out which ones, you can go to our website or news app. Some Kentucky Utilities customers say they are seeing high prices from last month's electric bills and worry the next bill will be even worse. One KU customer told our sister station in Lexington that her bill came to $457 for the month of December. Of course, we've seen bitter cold temperatures in January. KU officials say even keeping the thermostat low during really cold weather can only do so much. A system-wide boil water advisory continues for much of Perry County. That affects all City of Hazard water customers. It comes as thousands have been dealing with outages, in some cases for several days. Officials say they are still filling tanks and monitoring tank levels. They say it is impossible to estimate when everyone will have water again. Folks impacted by the July 2022 flood only have a few days left to appeal their FEMA decisions unless an extension request is approved. Apple Red disaster relief attorney Whitney Bailey has been helping flood survivors with FEMA appeals since shortly after the flood and says just because you were rejected FEMA money the first time does not mean you cannot appeal. But once this deadline has passed, that will no longer be an option.
Just having that appeal letter in your FEMA account is something. It's a starting place. So it's very important to have something submitted and just keeping your application open by that deadline on Monday.
Bailey says a request for a deadline extension has been submitted, but as of now, that has not been granted. So as of now, the deadline to appeal is Monday at 11:59 p.m. A man is accused of trying to steal copper wire. The Knox County Sheriff's Office says this morning they got a call that someone was cutting copper wire out of phones and internet boxes along Kentucky 11. Once at the scene, a detective found the damage. Deputies later arrested 44-year-old Tony DeZarn of Manchester. He's charged with theft by unlawful taking and criminal mischief. A bill in the General Assembly looks to get rid of the death penalty in Kentucky. Tonight, Kelsey Soto talks with those on both sides of the issue about the legal limbo and the costs that come with it.
As Alabama prepares to execute an inmate, the future of Kentucky's death penalty remains undecided.
I think we are seeing a change in opinion as people are learning more about how the death sentences are being implemented, especially in other states, and how cruel the actual penalty is.
There are 26 Kentuckians on death row. The state hasn't executed anyone in more than a decade. In 1994, Ralph Bays was sentenced in the murder of Powell County Sheriff Stephen Bennett and Deputy Sheriff Arthur Briscoe. Our Garrett Weimer talked to friends and family last year about the delays.
This is not my opinion as the Powell County judge. This is my opinion as Eddie, is let's stop wasting the money and, we need to carry out the sentence.
Capital trials are costly because of the increased expense in prosecution, defense, investigations, and security.
The money would be more effectively used in other ways of decreasing violent crime and providing treatment services and increasing our education funding. There are all sorts of ways in which we could be better using our limited funds.
Data shows Kentucky inmates have spent an average of 26 years on death row, the longest of any state in the country. Kentucky's constitution gives only the governor authority to commute death sentences. Victims' families say there is no price for the emotional toll they've endured all of these years.
This didn't have to happen. It just didn't have to happen. I don't know why fate allowed that to happen. I don't know, but it did. I don't know. It's so hard. I'm so sorry.
In Lexington, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
Kentucky is one of 27 states where the death penalty is still legal. House Bill 38, which would abolish the death penalty and replace it with life in prison without parole, remains in committee. Kentucky's newly created anti-Semitism task force met for the first time in Frankfort this afternoon. Governor Andy Beshear joined the group's 18 members. Data shows instances of anti-Semitism have risen significantly in Kentucky since the Hamas-led attack on Israel. The group is setting out to review those threats and address the issue at all levels of Kentucky's education system, particularly on college campuses. The trend of many Kentuckians registering independent continues. The new registration numbers for December show Republican registration went up 20%. Democratic registration fell by 11%, but those registering independent or other jumped 41%. Secretary of State Michael Adams says the 2024 presidential race is clearly driving registration and interest. The deadline to register for the May primary in Kentucky is the afternoon of April 22nd. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. It's why routine screenings are so important. In December, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman announced she had undergone a double mastectomy as a preventative measure. Today, for the first time, she is opening up about the family history that led to that decision and why she wants other Kentucky women who may find themselves in a similar situation to know they are not alone. Amber Philpott reports.
In the fall of 2023, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman had a lot on her plate. She was actively crisscrossing the state campaigning for another re-election bid with Governor Andy Beshear, which ended in a win. Then came inauguration, where she gave a rousing speech.
As I look around, I'm reminded that what unites us is far greater than what divides us.
But under the surface, she was dealing with something very personal.
I have a history in my family of breast cancer, and so it was a little, it was just kind of looming. You know, it was one of those things that I thought, I'm just kind of waiting to hear.
In September, the 41-year-old went for her first mammogram.
Some issues were raised, which set the ball rolling for more intense and invasive screenings.
Doctors found 4 lesions, meaning she would need 4 biopsies. 3 were benign, but doctors say the 4th had the potential of becoming malignant. It was emotional and heartbreaking news for Coleman.
So I was alone that day because you go to the doctor by yourself, right? And so that was hard, but I have to say that the nurses and the doctors who do this all day, every day, right? This could very well become like, you know, an assembly line for them. They were so compassionate and they were so empathetic.
The wife and mom decided in that moment to be proactive, opting against the 4 surgeries and wondering if cancer would ever be diagnosed, and instead chose a double mastectomy.
I knew that I wanted to have a double mastectomy because I needed that relief. I needed to not have to worry about this looming. I was going to have to do scans and screenings every 6 months for the rest of my life. And I just didn't want to live like that.
The lieutenant governor says from September to November, she had more questions than answers. The election, she admits, was a welcome distraction.
I was able to, talk to the governor about it and kind of give him a heads up that I don't know what this is going to mean. And I have to give credit to him because he said, this bus tour, our political events, none of that is more important than your health. And you need to take care of that. And if you have to miss something, I've got it.
Now back at work, the lieutenant governor has received countless cards and well wishes. And she's heard the stories of other Kentucky women. And it's why she chose to share her own journey.
That was a lonely feeling in that office when I got the news that something was wrong enough that surgery was required, but I didn't quite know what it meant. And I don't want other women to feel that way.
Her story is deeply personal, but Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman hopes her experience encourages other women to get their screenings. We saw the tears in her eyes when asked if she had thought about what if she had put hers off.
But there could have been real consequences if I had put this off. And you get this news, you go home, and your three-year-old comes home from preschool, and you think, man, she needs me.
That was Amber Philpott with the Lieutenant Governor today. And Coleman has watched her mom, aunt, and cousin all face breast cancer, so she knows the disease well, and they were all factors in her preventative surgery. She is doing well and has another surgery to go. Well, did you know the first WIC clinic in the country opened in Pineville 50 years ago in 1974? Yesterday, Governor Andy Beshear joined other leaders to celebrate the anniversary at the Bell Theater. WICs are clinics specifically catered to women, infants, and children 5 and under in need. The governor helped honor Dr. David Page and Betty Hopkins, who helped start the clinic.
Pineville not only is the first, but it is the most courageous.
Evidence shows that WIC participation is associated with fewer infant deaths, fewer premature births, and reduced infant mortality. And that's nothing short of incredible.
Now there is a WIC clinic in every state in the country. One Perry County church has made it their mission to provide food boxes to people in need. Journey Christian Church in Hazard does a food box giveaway every second and fourth Wednesday of the month from 5 to 6 p.m. Organizers say they fill the boxes with food donated to or purchased by the church. There are no requirements if someone would like to pick up a food box.
We really want to reach the people that need it. We don't have a lot of money in this church, but we believe that this is an opening that God's given us to serve His people, and that He'll support it, and we'll have what we need.
Spoor says there is a 2 box per car limit, but that can differ on a case-by-case basis. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, the All-A Classic State Tournament tips off in southern Kentucky for the first time.
Plus, rain chances stick around on Thursday. Your forecast coming up after this break.